Hello there everybody, it is me XfreezerBunny and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. So today we are building the glass facade house. Once again, this is another build that was inspired by the new glass walls feature in The Sims 4. And this time we are doing more of a townhouse prototype. This one specifically was inspired by Japanese houses that I've seen all throughout social media, like houses in places like Tokyo that have kind of like this modern minimalistic vibe. That was the vibe I was going for the most part, but of course, since I wanted to highlight the new glass walls feature, I decided to give this house a glass facade. So the entire front of the house does have the glass walls, and I'm actually really happy that I made this because I really enjoyed it. I will say that it doesn't really register that well in photos. Like, I was taking the screenshots of this and I could not make the glass walls look good for the thumbnail of this video, so that's something worth pointing out, I think. In real life, it would be like more reflective, obviously. Like, there's no reflections in The Sims for the glass windows and stuff like that. And yeah, I think they only really happen in mirrors. Like, the glass material in The Sims 4, it does have like some shine to it, but it's not reflective is what I'm trying to say. And also, normally with glass walls, they would typically have some sort of support. It actually kind of depends. I have worked with projects that had glass walls before, but typically those have mullions, which are kind of like the horizontal and vertical supports. And I've also seen ones. I've never worked in projects that had this specific type of glass wall, but I've also seen some that are supported by what we call spider clamps, which are very, very stylish. But you only really see those in like high-end buildings, and you don't actually usually see these types of glass walls in residential houses, which makes sense because obviously for residential homes, your priority is to have privacy. So typically you see these in like commercial buildings and office buildings. Like the office building that I work in has a glass wall, and let me just tell you guys that it sucks because I live in a tropical country, and for the most part it's just really hot. It's not like the best approach for an office building, in my opinion, because you're gonna have to need extensive like air conditioning and stuff like that. It does look good from the outside, it gives the building kind of like this modern sleek look, but yeah, it's not the most comfortable place to work at. It does kind of make sense for commercial though, because you want the products to be seen, right? And also like the whole window advertisement thing is like such a big deal now. Like, different brands are like trying to outdo each other's like window installations and stuff. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, like I said, for my personal experience, I think you're gonna have to need like a specialist actually to have this. We can specify, like, for architects out there, like, we can specify that it's a glass wall, but I think you're gonna have to need a specialist. I had like one or two projects that had glass walls, and we just gave them like the measurements, and they just basically handled it for us. And yeah, that one, I do have one project that had like the spider clamps, which was a more high-end one. Okay, so for the record, this was for a commercial project, and it was in a building that had a glass wall, but the way it was like incorporated and stuff, I got complimented by like my senior architects at the time, so I was really happy about that. I mean, I've been working for how many years now, and at this point I do have projects that are already built, and when I go to like different areas in town, I'm like, oh, okay, I handled this project like 2 years ago. That's like what comes to mind whenever I like see some of the projects that I worked in. But yeah, that particular building was really stylish. I really loved how it came together. Of course, I'm not taking full credit for that because I also worked in a team, but I did a lot of design work and also planning work as well. So yeah, anyway, so for this house, it ended up having 2 bedrooms and only 1 bathroom, but it is a townhouse, so it's a bit more compact, I would say. There's also a garage as well, which takes up the whole ground level of this house. So if you guys want to use this for your own personal gameplay, you can just expand on the ground floor, because obviously at this point the garage is just, it's just a waste of space basically. I hate to say that, but it doesn't really have a functionality of a garage, if you guys get what I mean. So you can basically convert it into like maybe a skill room or something like that. But yeah, I did give this house like kind of like a more futuristic looking car, which is really funny. By the way, I did build this while I was like watching the new season of Project Runway. I'm a Project Runway fan, by the way. I don't know if this is telling, but I've been watching it since like the first season, and I'm like so obsessed. But I was watching this while I was building this while I was watching Project Runway, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that I could see like maybe a fashion consultant or something like that, like a fashion editor living in this house. Or like actually maybe like an architect or something, because one of the bedrooms in this house is actually not furnished as a bedroom, it's furnished as an office. So somebody who works in kind of like the fashion industry, or like in kind of like a more high-end like architect position, I could see them living in here. But just to let you know, like I don't particularly think that architects are like that well paid. If I can just talk about that based on my personal experience, especially if you work in like more of a design position, it's not a particularly like high paying job. Maybe if you start your own company, but obviously there's a lot of challenges for that. But I have actually worked in a design position. I thought that was gonna be like my dream job, to be honest with you guys, but yeah, I ended up really struggling with the salary, I guess, which wasn't really good. So I ended up like just applying for a different position, which is as a project manager. But anyway, I've spoken about this in previous builds before, so I'm not gonna elaborate more on that. But I am actually really happy with how the interiors of this turned out. Like, I think I love the interior more than I love the exterior, but that's just mainly because I feel like it's really hard to make the glass look good, because it doesn't have like the reflectivity that I wanted, or kind of like the structural details of having like a minimalist framing. Actually, no, there is an option for the glass walls to have a frame. I don't particularly like how it looks, but I think it would be nice if it had like some spider clamps. I'm thinking about it though, and maybe we have those for the glass roofs. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've worked with glass roofs in The Sims, but maybe there's a swatch for the glass roofs that has like the spider clamps. I might be wrong, but I feel like I've seen that somewhere before in The Sims, or maybe I'm just thinking of CC. But moving on to the interior, I keep getting sidetracked. I absolutely love how the interior turned out. If this were my place, this is probably how I would furnish the interior. So very minimalist, a lot of emphasis on like different artworks that are statement pieces, and oversized plants, because I've been really into those recently. There's this local page on Instagram called Wonder Plants, and they have some really amazing like oversized plants. Like if I had my own place that can accommodate a plant that is of that size, I would probably like buy like one statement, one statement tree in my living room. But I live in like a really tiny flat in the middle of the city, and yeah, that's not gonna happen. But I did find this really beautiful kind of like tropical plant from Debug. I believe this one in particular came with for rent. And I don't know, I thought it just added like some like a really nice detail, like I don't know, it just looks like something that's really stylish in my opinion. So yeah, I just threw that onto the corner right there where the glass window is, and that's pretty much it. I think this didn't really need a lot of like extra details. And yeah, that plant right there is like one of my favorite things that I've done recently. I also found like a really artsy looking rug as well. Like it's been a while since I've gone through like the build buy mode, but I did find like a really artsy looking rug, and I will be incorporating that into this build. I'm just starting to realize this now, but I did forget to like leave space for like a dining area, so we ended up with having a pretty small dining area, to be honest. But I think it's fine. I would probably just eat in front of my computer anyway and watch like anime or like Netflix or something like that, because that's kind of like my daily routine. I know that sounds really sad, but I mean, I just want to like sit in front of my computer and have dinner while watching anime. That's how I'd like to wrap my days up. And maybe play a little bit of The Sims or like a PS5 for a couple of hours, just to relax and unwind. I don't really have that much of a social life right now because I have so much responsibility now. It's I guess this is just a natural progression of being an adult, I guess, or like being a professional. I would say like young professional, but I'm like way past that at this point. But yeah, it's like I'm having to schedule like my meetups with my friends now, like days or weeks in advance, because it's really hard to like we all have like different responsibilities and stuff, and yeah, it's like really it's a whole thing. Like we have to like put in the effort just to meet up. Even though like back when we were in school, we were just like let's hang out and everybody would be available, but that's not the case obviously nowadays. For this next bit of the build, I did show my indecisiveness right here. I don't know, I just felt like showcasing it. Sometimes I would edit it out, but I've been really liking the longer videos recently anyway. I also just didn't want to like spend so much time editing. I feel like I could like make better use of my time than just editing the video. And I like long form videos anyways. One thing that's worth mentioning as well, I do enjoy kind of like the more deliberate videos as opposed to kind of like shorts or like live streams. I don't really find those entertaining, which is kind of sad because a lot of the YouTubers that I used to watch primarily do like live stream content now, which it's harder for me to watch with my schedule. Like I don't really have time to spare to sit through like a 4-hour live stream. But if they have like a compilation or something, then I would probably watch it. Or I would sit through like a 5-hour stream for like a week. That's gonna last me a week, a week's worth of entertainment, or something like that. So anyway, but yeah, it's been going pretty well at the office. We do have some new team members that need to be onboarded, so I have scheduled meetings with them, and I'm looking forward to meet all of them. There's 2 new team members basically, so hopefully this time it works out, because the last time we added new team members, they were fighting basically, and I had to like, yeah, I felt like I was babysitting my new team members at that point, which is not the most fun thing considering I also have work that needs to be done. But instead I'm just, babysitting my team, which is kind of annoying, but it's fine. I guess it's like part of the job. But anyway, somebody pointed out in my last video that my voice sounds different, and I do think that my voice sounds different for some reason. I think it's because of the stress. I do typically record these voiceovers after work, so this is what I sound like after a long day of work. But I think a lot of it also has to do with like my recording setup, because I haven't really been producing content like on a regular basis for like the past maybe 2 or 3 years, and I think I just need to play around with like my microphone settings and my audio recording settings as well on Audacity. Make sure that I sound the best that I can possibly sound. But I do think that in my last video I do sound really tired for some reason. Sometimes I had an iced coffee before I record, and that can affect your voice because it dries out your throat. So maybe that's why I sound weird, in other videos as well. But yeah, somebody pointed it out and I just wanted to address it. It's fine though. I am aware that I do sound different in my videos. But yeah, there's like a lot of variables that make it happen like that. But yeah, anyway, this is actually my favorite room of the house. The office / second bedroom. Actually, one thing that I forgot to point out is that I used a lot of Moschino in this build. But yeah, this is actually one of my favorite rooms in this entire house. I really, really love how it turned out. I love the different furniture pieces that I picked, and also the fact that there's a lot of plants like over there in the corner. I really, really like how that looks, and even the poster that I picked for this room I really liked as well. Yeah, I think that room just came together really, really nicely. Probably not the most comfortable place to work because you're literally in front of a glass wall, and I'm pretty sure there's parts of the day where it's gonna be really hot, and also probably not the most ideal place to have a computer because of the sunlight and the heat and stuff like that. But you know what? It's The Sims and nobody really cares. And I'm just gonna say that there's probably like a curtain or like some blinds to block out the sun whenever that's needed. But yeah, also let's not talk about like the lack of privacy for this house, because literally the house itself opens onto the street. So yeah, luckily the Sims don't really care about privacy, so it's fine. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this build. I think we're coming up to the end, and yeah, I'm really, really happy with how it turned out, and I hope you guys liked it as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. You all have an awesome, awesome, awesome day. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.